Newark, which included Malcolm X Shabazz High School. Tell me how much was spent on this field?
Spent about $30 million on this field.
$30 million on the field?
Yes.
Is that $30 million money that could have been better spent elsewhere?
Well, absolutely.
They spent this much on a football field, even though fewer than 1 of 7 seniors at this school test proficient in math. But in case you think a poor district spending $30 million of state money on a football field is some kind of rare exception, well, consider this. There was a full KPMG audit of all the 31 Abbott districts released in May 2008. They reviewed $300 million worth of spending and found, unbelievably, that 29% of it was not reasonable. Between 1/4 and 1/3 of their budgets wasted. One usually under-the-radar form of waste is excessive administrator pay. At least until June of 2008, that's when it hit the news that Keansburg's retiring superintendent would be getting a severance package of $741,000. Not counting, of course, her annual pension of $120,000.
When the president of the school board from Keansburg, which is an Abbott school district, comes to the hearing in a white stretched limousine, that says something to the average taxpayers in the state of New Jersey.
Now, Keansburg is one of these 31 poor so-called Abbott districts. It gets 77% of its funding from state taxpayers. Once that became a big story of the severance, the governor's office said not to worry, they'd investigate. But what no one mentioned, not even in the news coverage, was that the state had just finished a damning investigation of school administrator pay just 2 years earlier. It was called Taxpayers Beware, and it had dozens of other stories.
Let me give you one example here. In one case in Asbury Park, we had a situation where there was a clash in leadership styles, and the superintendent agreed to resign in a separation of employment package that gave him $310,000 under the terms approved by the Board of Education. The board, as part of that deal, also paid $40,000 to cover his legal fees in connection with the dispute that he had had with him. This separation payout was in addition to his regular salary of more than $120,000.
So we're talking about $470,000 for a guy who's let go in 1 year.
Not bad for a day's work.
And for a guy who's fired.
And for a guy who's fired. Everything we found in our investigation is perfectly legal. Signed, sealed, and delivered by local boards of education at the expense of local taxpayers.
Okay, but they're just the superintendents. What are the other jobs in this thing called school district administration? Well, we're talking about assistant superintendents, curriculum advisors, IT staff, administrative assistants, as well as lawyers and accountants. Most of these people, of course, have medical and retirement plans that have to be paid for, too. And there are also administrative facilities costs, like computers, phones, office supplies, and office space, all of which has to be heated and cooled and insured and all the rest. Now, remember, these aren't teachers. We're talking about administration. And for visual simplicity, we're going to represent all of them with just one image, our cigar-chopping superintendent. With that said, what does it mean that New Jersey's in the school district business? Well, let's compare it to Maryland, also a geographically small but densely populated state. Maryland has 24 school districts. New Jersey has 616. The average district in Maryland teaches 35,000 students. In New Jersey, it's only 2,300. That means for the student population of one district in Maryland, New Jersey requires 15 different school districts, making the Jersey taxpayers finance the 14 extra sets of assistant superintendents, curriculum advisors, and all those people you just saw a second ago. 14 extra sets of them for what would be one district in Maryland. Put another way, by using school districts the size of Maryland's average, New Jersey could eliminate 575 of its 616 districts statewide, and instead devote that money to, say, teaching. This is not to say that Maryland has perfect school systems, but to highlight differences in overhead, a kind of spending that seldom faces any scrutiny locally when the money is coming from the state. According to those who know, state money is considered free money.
That I tell people that if you want to see how dysfunctional school district is, go to the central office administration parking lot and count the number of Mercedes-Benz. That's an inverse proportion. The higher the number of Mercedes-Benz parked out there, the worse the school district is.